Heyo, welcome everyone to episode 69 of Today in the Scene. I'm Joe with Indie Arcade Wave, and I just want to say thank you for checking us out. If you like what we're doing here, don't forget to like, share, and subscribe, and we'll just keep the episodes rolling. So this week, we're going to do something a little different. We haven't done a lot of focus on pinball, but this week I wanted to speak with an arcade owner that is focused primarily on pinball. They've got a couple arcade games and a rhythm game, but let's focus on the pinball here. So we're speaking to Rachel from Electric Bat Arcade, which is an arcade located in Arizona. They have multiple locations. And we'll just kind of chat with her and find out what the whole craze about pinball is down there. How you doing, Rachel?
Hey, great.
Yeah, thanks for coming on. I guess we'll just talk about Electric Bat Arcade today. Kind of talk about how you guys started, where it came from, things like that. And I guess we'll just jump straight in with who you are. Just introduce yourself, Rachel. Kind of let us know a little bit more about who you are.
Okay, I'm Rachel Bess. I started Electric Bat about 3 years ago. Before that, I had co-founded ZapCon, which is Arizona's Pinball and Arcade Festival. That was about 10 years ago. And aside from all that stuff, I am an oil painter. I'm a fine artist, which is an interesting mix of how all of all these things together.
Yeah, I was definitely going to say those are two things you don't usually see collaborate, but it's kind of cool that they did. Just tell us a little bit more about how you got into the arcade scene, the pinball scene, because I know it's pretty niche. Not a lot of people are like super huge into it. It's definitely a big scene. It's definitely growing, but I always find it really interesting to see like how you got started.
Yeah, I got started kind of I think the same way a lot of people did. I played it in the 90s in arcades, and then I got old enough to have a bank account that could maybe support one pinball machine, and then one machine went to 2, 4, 6, 10, etc. And I had too many pinball machines, and around that time I was asked to open the arcade by the owners of Yucca Tap Room. So that's the very condensed story about pinball. One machine multiplied.
That's how it seems to be with the hobby of just arcades in general. Is you're just like, oh,
Yeah.
I'll grab one machine, and then you got room for two. Now you have room for four, and they just keep piling up.
Yeah,
Um,
and most people have, like, I had a MAME machine before I
right.
had anything else. I had a small house, and that's what I could fit in there, and then the difference between having the stand-up arcades versus the pins is just because one is such a physical thing. You can't really, I mean, I know that they have the the digital pinball machines, but that doesn't quite have the same feel as real steel balls hitting against plastic and rubber and metal and everything. There isn't a good any, like, you can't replace that with anything.
Can't really
The
be
real one,
substituted.
yeah, you really need the real pinball machine, and so you get one, and then they just really tend to multiply. Yeah.
Yeah, I agree. I've played a handful of the digital ones, and I always just feel like the input lag is it's really noticeable, and it messes you up. So I'm with you. I'd rather play the old school like hardcore like metal wall everything. It just seems a
Yeah.
lot nicer.
And
Um,
even the ones that allow you to nudge of the digital
right.
one, it doesn't, like, it's not the same thing as moving when you're moving 300 pounds and trying to, shake it just a tiny bit. That doesn't convey very well whenever it's not 300 pounds.
Right. I guess you kind of gently touched on it, just like how you guys started with the tap house. Can you go more in depth as to like how you went from helping with ZapCon to actually opening up the arcade? What was that process like?
Yeah. The owners of Yucca Tap Room were wanting to put in a few machines. The barcade scene had really started to bubble up, and I guess they asked around, and people kept pointing them to me, and they just said, "Do you want to do this?" I said, "No, I really don't, but I'll help you do it." And and then so I did a little back end work, like, here are some games you should think about getting. Here's how this works. You're going to need a tech. Good luck with that. And then finally you could see that they were just overwhelmed with all the data and charts and stuff. And they said, "Are you sure that you don't want to do this?" And at this time I was really busy painting, doing a lot of gallery and museum shows. And it's well, I mean, I'll think about it. And I ended up agreeing to do it. And when we very first opened up, it was a small arcade. I think I only had about 13 pins and maybe 8 or 9 arcade games. And then after that, we tripled in size about a year later and continued to add on. But it was really it was them wanting to do something and not having the ability, and me having the ability and needing to be convinced that this was something I wanted to do. And now, I'm really glad that I did. But in the beginning, it did take a little convincing. It's a lot of maintenance, and I'm there. My husband Kale and I are there 5 days a week, just making sure everything is working really well. We pride ourselves on having the machines. Right now, I think there's 29 or 30 pinball machines. All of them are working, I believe, 100%. I'm going to say 100%. We were there today, and when I left, everything was working 100%. So if you've ever had a pinball machine or even just gone to pinball arcades, that's really, really rare. They tend to, people lose interest in it because they'll walk up to a machine, put money in, and like maybe one flipper won't work right, or the like drop targets aren't falling. It'll just be little or even big issues. The machines will be dirty. And that takes away a lot of the fun of it. So we really try and keep everything working well. And that's a big ask, as far as time and I guess even ability to do that. Some of the machines we have, I think our oldest ones are from 78. So it's 43 years old. They'll get a lot of wear and tear in that time.
Yeah, I mean that's a good spread to have games from the 70s up to now. I mean, I know I saw you guys got the new Godzilla, so you have like the new modern stuff, the older stuff. It's nice to have a nice kind of collection of that. I guess the next question I have for you is about tournaments. I know I've personally run a handful of arcade tournaments, and you've got a little more experience, obviously, in like the convention side of things. What is it like running tournaments, and for people that are interested in kind of creating a pinball tournament atmosphere in their own area? What are some things that they need to look forward to like get everything moving and get people coming back week after week?
Yeah, we have a weekly league on Tuesday, and there's actually a whole other Tuesday night league at the same time, at a different location. And there are so many tournaments going on right now in the Phoenix area. I just looked at the list. I think there are 29 tournaments in the month of December. There's only 31 days in December, so that you can basically do a tournament a day in the Phoenix area right now, pinball. It's a lot. We have a really good player base, all skill levels, and a lot of different places to play, not just Electric Bat, although that happens to be my favorite place. To get started on pinball tournaments, it's a good idea to go to the IFPA, International Flipper Pinball Association. I think the website is ifpapinball.com, and you can find some resources there about making rulings, different styles of tournaments, and a lot of players are interested in doing the tournaments that are IFPA tournaments. You get points for that. It adds up to your points add up throughout the year or the last 3 years, so you get worldwide rankings, and that will help you with kind of what you're doing as far as like here are the sanctioned rules, here are some sanctioned styles of tournament play. The best thing anybody can do before running a tournament is go to several tournaments, because one tournament director may have a different style from another one. I think the best tournament directors make very consistent rulings. So if something happens, if you plunge somebody else's ball, for example, that's a disqualification for everybody, not just for the people. Your friends don't get a pass on that. I think that's really important. knowing the games well enough to know if something is malfunctioning or working properly. So that helps. I mean, it helps when we're running tournaments at our own location as far as knowing, maybe there's a game that's been acting kind of weird that week, so we'll leave that one out. If you are running a tournament at somebody else's location, do your best to communicate with that owner or with the person that does the maintenance on those machines, so they can maybe give you a heads up which machines would be the best ones to include in that tournament, and things to look for. That's how I would go about it if I was brand new to the tournament scene. Definitely play a lot of them before running them.
Yeah, I think that's good advice because I mean, kind of like you were saying, like if you punch someone else's ball, like that's a DQ, right? You're out of the tournament. It's got to be fair to everyone. So if the machine is acting up, it's obviously not going to be fair to all the players.
Right.
So what is the arcade scene like in Arizona? I know you're primarily like kind of near the Phoenix area. Do you guys have a
Mhm.
lot? I mean, you obviously said 29 tournaments in 30 whatever days. Do you
There
guys have
are
a ton of
tons.
arcade bars, or
Yeah.
like is it arcade focused, pinball focused? Kind of what is that the
Both.
energy
Yeah,
like
there
that?
are both. There are some that are heavy into the, stand-up arcade side, and some that are heavy on the pinball side, some that are 50-50. But we have new, arcades opening up here. It seems like there's a new one opening every couple of months. So, I was just talking to a guy today who came into the bar. He's opening up one nearby, and he's excited. It's they're doing like the final touches, trying to get everything figured out. He's opening one up on the same block as another arcade out here is opening up a second location. It's going to be a 2 or 3 story arcade, I think, and so that's how many there are out here that two of them feel like it's okay to open up on the same block, and I'm sure they'll both do all right. So it's huge. There are many arcades out here. If you go to Pinball Maps, and just type in Phoenix or Arizona or however you look at it, the Phoenix area has a lot. There are a couple places to play down in Tucson, which is about 2 hours south of Phoenix, and in Flagstaff, Electric Bat up there is pretty much that's the only one I can think of. I think there might be some sort of like family entertainment center up there. I'm not even sure about that. But as far as pinball up north, Electric Bats is your best and perhaps only bet.
Gotcha. Yeah, I mean, it seems like there's lots of options, and that's pretty crazy to hear of two arcades on the same block. I wish it was more like that around here. I wish there were more arcades. I usually got to drive a little bit between them to visit them in the Minneapolis area, but um, I guess I'm always curious for collectors, someone like yourself who collects pinballs or arcades or whatever. What are your top three favorite pinballs of all time? I'm sure that's probably a difficult question to answer. As well as, do you have a white rhino that you've been chasing, like trying to find this pin and you just can't find it? Is there something like that out there for you?
My top three, Godzilla is actually my favorite pin of all time now, and I know that it just came out, a month ago or so. Um, but I don't think this is just like the hype of a new shiny game. I absolutely love the Godzilla game. Adam's Family behind me here. One of my other favorites. That was the first. I keep pointing to the wrong thing. Not good with cameras. Um, that was the first pinball machine that I bought for myself, and I'll always keep that one. My third favorite one might be Joker Poker, which is an older solid state machine from 78, 79. And the object of that one, you have 5 balls. On your first ball, you try and knock down one target, a 10 target. Your second ball, you try and knock down the jacks. The third ball, you try and knock down the queens. So it was an early way of incorporating like a mode, but just having different goals for different balls, I think was a cool and unique thing that I don't think I've seen it since then. Um, as far as a white rhino goes, there's a classic ballet machine called Viking. I have a few friends that have it, that may one day part with it. I'd love to have that machine. There aren't a whole lot of those out there. That would be one that I'd love to have. But at this point, I've pretty much acquired every machine that I want. I think, yeah, there's a pretty I have a pretty thick catalog of machines right now.
That's pretty
One of the
impressive.
things about the Godzilla game that you may be interested in as more of a like on the video game side of things. I don't know if you've heard about this, but Stern has started this new feature called Insider Connected. You have a free account, and with your free account, there's a QR code. So at the beginning of each game, you put your phone on the machine and scan the QR code, and it logs you in. But it has a bunch of achievements. So now I can play pinball and get Chivos. So there may be like 40, there may be 60 different achievements that you can get per game, and you can compare, your high scores with somebody else's high scores. It has a lot of different, you can look up the rules to the games that have those. So get a quick, for example, if you're playing in a tournament, it's a game you've never played before, look it up real quick, figure out best strategies for getting a good score on that game. But every time you get an achievement during a game, it gives a little like ding, and it's exciting. I love that feature, and that's probably one of the things that makes me like Godzilla so much. The theme is fantastic, and the game design and all that, but this is a little bit of cherry on top, Chivos.
Yeah, that seems like a good idea. I mean, the idea of pinball is all about one, beating yourself, your own high score. You're playing against yourself every time, but also the people that are around you. You're trying to be the best. So it just makes sense that you can finally track that and see like a national ranking or international ranking or whatever it may be.
It also gives you goals aside from just getting the highest score. Like in Godzilla, if you're getting achievements for defeating specific monsters, that may not be your best way to get to a high score, but it makes you play part of the games that you might not focus on otherwise, which overall makes you a better player, because now you kind of know what this shot does, or how to do those different things. So yeah, it keeps the game fresher than not having those.
Right, just little side quests basically within the game to kind of expand upon it. I guess a question for you also is going to be like the second location. So you had the one location at the tap house, and then you brought in a second location, I believe you said in Flagstaff, right?
Yep.
What was that like, opening a second location, and why did you decide to open another arcade?
Well, it was the bar owners of Yucca Tap Room said, "Hey, I think we're going to buy this bar in Flagstaff. Do you want in?" Well, maybe. And I went ahead and went forward with it. And this was a year before COVID, but all the lawyering, just the amount of time that it took for everything to go through and for us to finally own the bar. We were training our employees whenever the governor came on the radio, television, and said, "We're shutting down Arizona." So we opened up right at the absolute worst time to open a bar. So it's been uphill the entire time. Like if you open up at the worst time, then everything is gravy after that.
Yeah, you can't really go lower, right?
Yeah, I mean, we had bartenders behind the bar, just showing them where things were, just the basics of all of us, and then, "Sorry, you have to go home. We're not allowed to be open for who knows how long." So bright side is that gave us a lot of extra time to do some more renovating in the building, get all the machines beyond perfectly ready to go. It gave us a little extra prep time, but it was a rough start. But Flagstaff is a really beautiful town. It's at about 7,000 feet, so it's very snowy, which is nice. Whenever it's 120 down in Phoenix, I can go up to Flagstaff and it'll be like 85. So it's a good little it's a vacation town, and it's nice for me to have a reason to go up there, and it kind of forces me to get out of town every week, to go up there every week and take care of things. And yeah, it was just it was a case of having an opportunity, and like, why not? Let's try it.
Yeah, I mean, why not just jump in? Just
Mhm.
try it. I mean,
We
you already
knew, yeah, we knew that Flagstaff did not have arcade locations open at all, so we knew that going in, we would be
one of
the
the
only
only.
we'd be the only one. So it's nice to not it's nice to have competition. It's also nice to not have competition.
Right. I guess one of the last questions I have for you is, what are the future plans for Electric Bat? I know you guys stream a bunch, you run tons of tournaments. What else do you guys have planned for the future?
Yeah, we do stream. We're getting back into streaming. We're actually going to be streaming. Our friends made a custom Dukes of Hazzard pinball machine, and it's for another one of our friends. So it's going into a private collection, but for one day, it's going to be at the Bat, and we'll be streaming it, and the public can play it for that. So that's pretty exciting. I think we'd like to do a lot more one-off things like that with ultra rare games. We're lucky enough to have friends that have incredible collections of stuff that you will never see outside of these collections. So I think it would be neat to have those come into the arcade for, even if it's just like a week or something like that, to give the public a chance to play games that they wouldn't get to play outside of a situation like that. We have a lot more tournaments planned. We're doing we do monthly launch parties now. So we used to just do a launch party whenever a new game came out. We had a Godzilla launch party, a Mandalorian launch party. But this next month, we don't have a new game coming next month. So we're going to do a Dolly Parton launch party for a 1979, 78, for, again, a 40-plus-year-old pinball machine, doing big parties for it as though it was the day that it came out. Lots of tournaments, prizes, just fun stuff around specific machines. You mentioned the rhythm games in the intro. So we've got 4 of those right now, the Japanese rhythm games. We may do some switching up of those. That's a whole different crowd of folks, and it's really fun to watch people do, like, all the, I'm terrible at those games, but I love them. So we may do some more in that genre as well. But yeah, lots of pinball tournaments. We love getting new people into pinball. More of that. And we have a tiki bar inside the Tempe location too. So that's getting ready for a big menu change, and some exciting stuff with the tiki bar.
Awesome. That sounds like a lot of fun. I'm glad to hear that there's definitely going to be growth with you guys. And that sounds like a cool idea to like do a launch party for an old game that has been around forever, but it maybe didn't get the love that it needed back then.
A lot of our players weren't even born when it came
Right.
out. So.
Right. So it is a new game, right? It could
Yeah.
definitely be a launch.
Yeah.
I guess just to wrap everything up, I want to just say thanks for coming on here. Now, just give shout outs to the social media so that people can check you out and follow along with what you're doing.
Yeah, we are at Electric Bat Arcade across social media. So Electric Bat Arcade. We're easy to find in any corner of the internet.
Perfect.
And
I'm going to I'll throw the links down in the description as well. I just want to say thanks for coming on again and talking about Electric Bat, giving us a little more insight on pinball, which I don't know too much about, but is definitely fun and would be something I'd be interested in getting into. And until
you are, and it's 85 here today, so maybe come visit.
Oh,
and
it's like 30 here, so that sounds amazing. But until next time, peace.